Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Sciria, and that is Robert Harding. I should know your middle initial, and we can make it
W.
Robert W. Harding. And this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for Thursday, May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, it is Cinco de Mayo. And how appropriate. I just had some nacho chips before I walked in, so, you know.
Very good.
Great. Yeah, it's very festive. Anyways, we're going to talk about the Dolphins and the Bills draft, because last week we did it right after the first round, so we didn't know who else was selected. Now we have the complete list, and we can kind of break it down a little bit. And Robert, if you want, I'll let you start with the Bills if you're interested.
Sure, yeah. Obviously we already covered the first round pick, Shaq Lawson. I won't repeat my praise of that pick. In the second round, Bills actually moved up, took inside linebacker Reggie Ragland from Alabama, which I think is a great pick. You know, one of the things about the Bills' defense last year was that they really needed help on the inside. You know, a good tackler, and this guy will do the job. In the third round, the Bills picked up Adolphus Washington, a defensive tackle, has some pass rushing ability, brings some depth to the defensive line, so that'll be good. And in my report card that I wrote this week on the draft picks, I mentioned that he could be an option down the road to replace Kyle Williams, who is one of the Bills' current defensive tackles, starting defensive tackles, but is getting up there in age. He's entering his 11th season. Fourth round pick, Cardale Jones, the quarterback from Ohio State. That was, this was probably, outside of the Lawson pick, probably the biggest pick, because, there's a lot of potential here. First off, he comes in, he gets a chance, at least in a year, just to, kind of see how NFL quarterbacks prepare and, go through the motions. And, there's no pressure on him. So that's a good thing. And, who knows? Maybe the Bills found their long-term answer at quarterback here.
It's an interesting pick, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Fifth round, Jonathan Williams. The Bills took a running back here. He's from Arkansas. Actually didn't play last year. He was injured, a foot injury, I believe, but did rush for 1,100 yards in 2014. Hey, after last season, I know with LaShawn McCoy and Carlos Williams, the Bills' top two running backs, they were banged up. Running back is a tough position, so you can never have enough in the NFL. The last two picks, I'll go through them quickly. Colby Listenby, a wide receiver from TCU, he's got some speed and a little bit more size than the Bills' current speedster, Marquise Goodwin. So who knows? Maybe he'll find a spot on the team. And then rounding out the draft for the Bills, Kevin Seymour, defensive back from USC. Some raw talent here. Could fill a need for the Bills at a reserve defensive back slot. But all in all, I gave the Bills an A. Thought their entire draft was great. Thought they really addressed what they needed to. Got a quarterback, bolstered the defensive line and linebacker. I like it.
Okay. Well, for the Dolphins, a little bit of a different thing here, because everybody going into this team needed defense, and yet only 3 of the 8 picks were on defense. Okay. Now, look, we did talk about Laramie Tunsil last week, and I think it's obvious the Dolphins did need offensive line help drastically. So, and he was the best player in the draft for offensive line, so that's no brainer. You had to take him. Second round, the Dolphins picked Xavier Howard, a cornerback out of Baylor. Definitely needed a cornerback. This is a good pick. I mean, you needed to pick someone high up at this position. Great. But then things got a little interesting later on. Third round, Dolphins picked Kenyon Drake, a running back out of Alabama. I guess the talk is that this guy could be a returner, because Jarvis Landry's been doing all the punt and kickoff returns, and you want to keep him fresh. So this guy could be a returner. Definitely got speed, though. The second third-round pick the Dolphins had went to Leonte Carew, a wide receiver out of South Carolina. I guess this guy is a big guy, possession guy. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure whether we needed a wide receiver at that spot, but that's where the Dolphins picked. And then another wide receiver in the next pick, which wasn't until the 6th round, by the way. The Dolphins traded out of the 4th and 5th round. I guess they traded up to get Carew. So they picked Jakeem Grant, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. And again, I think this might be a special team pick. Next pick in the 6th round, too, Jordan Lucas, who was a cornerback / safety out of Penn State. This is where when you get to the 6th round, I mean, you can find a starting cornerback in that spot of the draft, but realistically, for this guy to make the team, he's going to be contributing on special teams. We'll see what happens. And then in the 7th round, the Dolphins picked a quarterback, Brandon Doughty, who actually is from Davie, Florida.
How about that?
Where the Dolphins training facility is. So this guy literally could live with his mom and dad and commute to work. Really. And this guy, I mean, he put up some good numbers at Western Kentucky, but I mean, obviously Ryan Tannehill is going to be the starter. This guy, you're going to be looking as a third stringer practice squad guy because the Dolphins re-signed Matt Moore as the backup. So, maybe this kid shows something and he surpasses Moore as the backup, but I don't see that happening, and I think this guy's going to be on the practice squad. The last pick, tight end at UCLA, Thomas Duarte. Again, it could be a special teams player. Tight ends, the Dolphins do need a little more help at tight end. They got Jordan Cameron, or is that Cameron Jordan? I always get those two guys mixed up. I know, Jordan Cameron. And Deion Sims. A little depth there wouldn't be a bad idea, although I like Jake Stoneburner, who's been on the practice squad, who's bounced through. I just love the name Jake Stoneburner. Just a great name. And actually the guy does play pretty hard and he's not a bad player. But Thomas Duarte, I guess, could also be used as an H-back, as out of the backfield a little bit too. So a little versatility there. So I don't blame him for making that pick. I would have liked to have had a little more defense on some of these selections, not skill position players like wide receivers and running backs. I know we had to pick some type of a running back just because, Lamar Miller's gone and they couldn't get Anderson from Denver. I can understand that, but I would have maybe gone a little further in the draft before going for a running back, not the 3rd round. But, a couple things. As you know, Orlando Alzagari, my friend who does sports talk down in Miami, told his audience, including me earlier this week, that he had heard that Mike Tannenbaum, who is the Dolphins' executive vice president of football operations, had nothing to do with these choices. He did not make these choices, and that was a stunning thing. That this was Chris Greer, the new general manager, and Adam Gase, the new head coach, really saying, these are the guys that we want. So that was kind of interesting, if that is true. And the fact that Gase had such an influence on the draft with Greer, that's why some of these picks you're thinking like, well, Gase is an offensive guy, and I think he's really just trying to remake the offense in his image, the way he wants to be. I think that's why these picks were like that. And then obviously on defense, I think the Dolphins felt that they did some things in free agency, getting Mario Williams from the Bills, that they've done enough defensively where maybe they just need to fine tune some things. And and maybe they feel that if offensively they're so good, they're putting up 35 points a game, the defense isn't going to matter. I don't know, but I would like to see a little more defense in the draft. But we both know this; it's going to be 2-3 years before we really know whether this was a good draft or not. I can't give a grade from the standpoint of A, B, C, D, whatever. Look, they had some needs; they did address some of them. Getting Larry Tunsil was a steal. You weren't expecting to get one of the top guys overall at number 13. So I guess I'm happy. Again, you got to show me. I mean, that's the thing. These guys have got to come into camp and they got to perform, and then the regular season, that's when we'll know whether this was a good draft or not. So we're not going to know for a while, but irregardless, it was entertaining. I always enjoy watching the draft. I'm one of those draft nicks, draft nerds. I'll watch the draft. It's kind of fun to see where guys go and how things break down with trades and everything. So, Robert, anything else you want to add?
Well, no, just one thing about one of the Dolphins picks, Kenyon Drake. You mentioned, I think, on the video last week, either it was on the video or it was just a conversation we had, because I mentioned Derrick Henry, the other running back from Alabama, and you said, more of a receiver type, and I think Kenyon Drake is that receiver type.
Yeah.
He's a good runner.
3rd down back.
But, he's the type of guy that you could see in that 3rd down role. They compared him to like a Reggie Bush type player that, good receiver, capable runner, can contribute in the return game. So, he's got a few dimensions there to help the team. That's a decent pick, I think. 3rd round, I mean, you can debate that, but, a good addition for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, they traded up to get him, so.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how, Adam Gase runs the offense this year, because he said, I'm calling the plays. I'm going to be the offensive coordinator as well as the head coach. So, I mean, this is all on him. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very cautiously optimistic about this. I really am. I think that this could be a good offense the Dolphins have, if obviously Ryan Tannehill has time to throw the ball and does the right thing with the ball. So we'll see what happens. So Anything else you want to add now?
I'm all
All
set.
right, we're good. Hey, folks, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week.